that was Matata with their new song Pishy featuring Bien. Now in the studio today, we've got Sim Simma.
Okay, carry on.
You're supposed to do the other bit.
I need to
we need to do this again. I can't do the whole thing by myself.
All right, try again.
Sim Simma.
Who got the keys? Come
To
on.
the river.
What are you saying?
Yeah, so this is Sim. She is an entrepreneur and soon to be podcast host. Yeah, is there anything I'm missing from that introduction?
Not yet. Not
Yeah.
yet. You've covered it all.
Okay. Now, before we start, can I just say, Mr. Pepe Onzime, why are you gay?
Who said I'm gay?
You are gay.
Oh, who said I'm gay? I am not gay. I look gay. I'm not gay.
You're not. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I love it.
That
love
took me
it.
back.
It is.
Yeah, man.
Honestly, that interview, it's crazy work.
It's iconic, isn't it?
Very iconic. Now, before we get into it, I just want to do a quick fire round of questions,
Yeah.
Don't think too much about the answers. Just whatever comes to your mind first, just give me the answer, yeah?
All right.
Okay, if you were a day of the week, what day would you be and why?
Friday. The best day of the week, I think, is because it's the end of the week. If you're working, if you've got things to do, and then you've got the whole weekend to yourself,
Yeah.
see family, friends, hang out, party, be gay, be merry. You know what I mean? So Friday for me is the one.
I hear that. I definitely see you as a Friday. Yeah. What is the last thing that you Googled?
The last thing I Googled,
Yeah.
I think the native radio, actually. It was last night.
Why are you gassing us up?
No, honestly. I was trying to find out a little bit of info, but yeah.
I
that's the last
see.
thing.
Did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched
Okay.
a few clips and stuff like that, so it was quite cool.
Okay. If you had to choose between two things, the world to have access to like your finances and your financial history, or to your search history, what would you rather?
Neither.
No, you got to choose one.
Yeah, definitely not the search history. Definitely not that one. I don't think I want
So you're
anyone to
giving
know.
up your financial.
Yeah, anything else in life, but not my search history.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my
Yeah.
guys are ballers.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your pettiest ick?
Dirty people. Yeah, I don't even think it's petty. It's just, I hate people that are dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, smell, not clean, not shaved.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. I'm a
Okay.
bit OCD about that, yeah.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about that.
I do know how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and the way people eat chicken wings.
Okay, I want to get into that because that sounds petty.
That's mad. Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah, that one is mad for me because, you've got people that eat it cute, very demure, and then you've got some people that just like roughen up the bone. I thought we were meant to leave the bone on the plate, you know what I mean? And all you hear is the...
Oy.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
I thought you-
judge.
Yeah,
I judge
is
hard.
it?
Yeah, I judge hard.
I thought you were going to say the other way round because, sometimes people will be like, seriously? You finished
But
the
that's
wing?
me, like,
Yeah.
I'm not really big on it. Like, I'll
Yeah.
still leave some chunks of chicken still left on there.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I see a vein, I'm like, I'm out. But
Yeah.
the way, especially beautiful women, the way they eat them bones, the beauty just goes out the window. It's just all I see is the bones.
I'm screaming.
Yeah, that one for me, yeah.
Okay. So if you could wish a mild inconvenience on your worst enemy, what would that be? Like just a mild inconvenience in their daily life. What would that be?
On my worst enemy,
Yeah.
their car to break down or something. Get them no access to where they need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, to be fair. I haven't thought about that before, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not as petty as I thought because the stuff that I've heard people coming up
Give
with
me one.
this.
What would
I'm
you
trying
do?
to think of. There's one I heard recently. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you if it comes back to mind. I'll tell you about it.
It's hard to think
But I've
about it,
heard-
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've definitely had some petty ones. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so Thursdays. Let's talk about Thursdays. So this is it's a dating app, but it's very different to the usual ones that we're used to, right? So if I've got it right, it's it only functions on a Thursday. like you can only speak to people on there on a Thursday and make plans to see them. And then I think they also do events on a Thursday.
Okay.
And I know you've recently been to one.
Yeah. I went last week actually, my first time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear about that. How was that?
Oh, it was rubbish. Obviously, I went with a friend and I was just there supporting. I didn't even know what it was about.
You were just there asking for a friend.
Yeah, exactly. Because he contacted me and he said, "Listen, I want to go to this event. Let's go." And I'm a supporter of all my friends. I was like, let's go find some women. But honestly, it was rubbish. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
It was about 98% men. So obviously, not my
That doesn't sound rubbish to me, but
No, but wait for me. When I went inside, it felt like I went on a ski trip to Switzerland or something because it's just full of snow bunnies.
Yeah.
And, that's someone's flavor, not a problem. But for me, who's like strictly dates black, and my friend who's, pretty much strictly dates black, it was just, we were pretty much the only black people, and we said, this place isn't for us, man.
Yeah.
But we tried, we had a few conversations, but it was too loud as well.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
What was the setting like?
It was like a nice cocktail bar.
Okay.
The setting was really nice. The music was lovely. A little bit too loud, so you couldn't actually hear the conversations you were having. You had to lean in, which kind of took away a bit of the moment.
Yeah.
You had to shout. It was nice. All the people there were really nice. When I walked in, I walked in with you in my mind. I was trying to find your prince or your king or whatever it was. We talked about it. But yeah, there was just nothing that was matching your description, which is why I said it felt like a little bit of a ski trip, a place where we shouldn't go. But it was all right. It was really nice. I liked it.
Damn. Okay, so are we saying the traditional dating sites for the win? Yeah.
Stick to, matching people online and having conversations on there, because that wasn't it.
Yeah. Ah, fair enough. Okay. And I don't know if you've seen recently, Neo had like an interview recently about, because he's polyamorous, right? And I think he's just added a fourth girlfriend to the mix. Yeah. What's your take on that?
I mean, to each their own. If it works for you, it works for you. But for me, I'm super monogamous, so it's not something that I like to entertain. Perhaps if I'm single, I'm outside. But when I'm with someone, I like the idea of just having that one headache to deal with. And that one person. But, I have a few friends that are polyamorous and, their lifestyle is quite interesting. Today is someone, tomorrow is someone. I'm like, how do you even keep up with it, And they all want the same attention. But, I grew up in a Islamic household where men are allowed to marry 4 women. So I saw my uncles and stuff like that in that kind of life. So it can happen. It's cool. Do I agree with it? I mean, like I said, it's to each their own, but it's just not for me. I can't. Like, it's too much work, I feel like.
Fair enough. And like I hear people say that polyamory is a rich people's sport. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
If you haven't got the means to take care of each woman the same way, don't even bother. I've seen guys where, they've got multiple women and then sometimes they favor one more. They'll be taking it Louis Vuitton, this, and then the other one's getting basic restaurant type of thing. She's not getting the gift, she's not getting all the other things that the main is getting. So I think that's where there's world colliding.
I see.
And I just think it's definitely a rich man's sport. If you haven't got it, don't even bother, man. Like, just stick to your one, or just be single and just date. And then you can, take wherever you can afford. But don't bring in 4 women if you can't handle all 4.
I hear that.
Man.
Yeah. Sim, you're Somali, Muslim, and gay. Yeah.
Sounded like a triple homicide.
Is that what it feels like?
It does.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, of course. Because obviously, I am Muslim, so it's a big thing. Being gay. And then you've got the Somali aspect where sometimes, my people, it's quite hard to differentiate, your ethnicity from the religion, your traditions from the religion, and then the culture from the tradition. So it's a lot of things that are kind of against one another in that sense. So I've got, like I said, triple homicide. Like, you're going wrong either way.
And do you feel like people tend to be like hyper fixated about that aspect of you?
Yeah, 100%, because it's like, if I'm gay, why am I Somali? And then it's like, if I'm Somali, why am I gay? And then you've got the Islamic aspect of you're Muslim, so why are you gay? Or you're gay, but you can't be Muslim because it's not allowed. And it's like, at the end of the day, for me, faith is between me and the Creator. It's not between anyone else. And I think that's what a lot of people in all religions tend to forget, is that, faith is between you and your Creator. You can't tell someone what to do or how they should or how they view the religion.
Yeah.
So obviously in that aspect, it's hard. But for me, I'm built for this life. Like, you know, I've never cared what people think. I've always lived that way. And that's a testament to my own mom. You know, she raised me to just look in the mirror. As long as I'm happy with what I see, you know, I don't want to swear, but forget the noise is what I'll say.
Yeah.
You know? So that's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah. And yeah, I completely agree. I think faith is a very personal journey and people like to project how
100%.
they, yeah.
I think it's a lot of projection. A lot of people aren't where they are with their faith or even like their own traditions and cultures, you know, or even their sexuality. So they tend to like mix all the elements and then, you know, come up with things that they shouldn't even have bothered with to begin with. But I think, like I said, you know, faith is a personal journey. Your sexuality is your own thing.
Yeah.
You know, your culture, traditions, those are things that you tend to learn from home and, you know, where you come from. And then if you want to keep it alive in your own life, then you can. If not, then, you know, you adapt. For example, like I've lived in the UK for over 20 years. I do have some form of British values and traditions and cultures, you know. So it's just, it depends on, you know, how you view the world. And if you want to step out of that norm that we grew up where it's like you can be one thing, but you can't be another.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, like I said, you know, I did grow up in a household where I was Somali, I was Muslim, I was gay, but my mom raised me in an element of like, you know what, no matter where you end up in life, as long as you've got you and as long as you're happy, then that's all that matters.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Shout out to Momsy. Yeah. And you said...
Wait till she hears this.
Yeah. And you said that you've lived in the UK for the past 20 years?
I'd say about 22 years, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. And so where was your early life?
I was born in Somalia.
Yeah.
Raised in Somalia. Came here with my mom, you know, and it was just me and her for a while.
Yeah.
And then my brothers joined us. I have two younger brothers.
Yeah.
So, I've been here since I was about 8, you know. So,
okay. Yeah. And do you have any like clear memories from that time when you lived in Somalia?
100%. Yeah. Like, you know, Somalia was beautiful. You know, I had a very large family. You know, I grew up with my grandmother in the house, you know, even though she was a grandma, she was also a mum to us. I've never actually called her grandma, only when I referred to her to other outsiders.
Other people, okay.
Yeah, like, but she's mum, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was beautiful. You know, I had a lot of fun times. It's where I learned to read, write, speak, you know. I came here being able to speak English, somewhat of English, you know, being able to read and write Arabic, Somali as well. So it was a great place. I haven't visited, but I'm sure you can tell why I haven't visited, but
Yeah, okay.
I can't walk in like this over there, but it's calm.
I hear that. Fair enough. Yeah. And I love it when you break into, I love when people speak the languages of where they're from. And I love it sometimes when I'm on your stories and you just break into Somali. And I'm just like bare smiling. I don't understand what you're saying, but it's just.
Even to me, sometimes it sounds foreign because right now in my life, like I have so many non-Somali friends.
Yeah.
So I only actually speak Somali when I speak to my mom. And even then it's still somewhat of a broken Somali because I'm mixing English with it and she's doing the same.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, when I'm speaking to an actual friend that speaks Somali or at least understands Somali, I take full advantage of that because I don't want to forget the language. It's something I would love to pass on to, you know, when I have kids, you know, I want them to learn and whatnot. So, but it's sometimes you just got to do it, man. It sounds lovely in the ears.
Love that. Yeah. And what's a Somali word you want to pass on to us here at Native Radio?
Hey. Come back to me later.
Yeah, come back later.
Let me think about that one.
Let's let it marinate. Yeah. Okay, and I feel like the things you've just talked about, like being a gay black woman, that's probably like the least interesting thing about you. Like there's so much more about you. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, is there like a narrative about you or something about you that you wish people focused on instead?
I think... like I said, you know, to you probably many times before, it's very easy to walk into a space where someone just judges you based on how you look, you know, or what your sexuality is or what your religion is and whatnot. But I think it would be nice if people actually focused on how I make them feel. Yeah. And I think that's how we should actually focus on everybody in our lives, how they make us feel, who we are around them, you know, do we sparkle up or, you know, downcast, whatnot. But I think it's more about who the person is internally rather than the external factors of, you know, what you see and what you make a judgment of. And that's kind of how I live my life with all my friends and anybody that I connect with. I tend to focus on, who am I when I'm around you, when I'm speaking to you. And I think that's the most important aspect of any form of relationships that you create in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of being judged, like when you walk into places, I know we were talking about this off air, but I want to talk about it now in terms of walking into the bathrooms, like when you're out.
Yo, the bathroom is the most interesting thing when you go out.
Yeah.
Especially a nightclub, because you tend to have those lovely aunties with
Yes.
the bob, you know?
Not the bob.
With the bob just sitting there, bless them, doing their little thing. Obviously, when I walk in from, just using your visuals, just using your eyes, I am obviously wearing masculine clothes. I have short hair, so automatically straight away they do tend to assume, oh my gosh, a guy is walking into the bathroom. And, but I try and speak so they can hear my voice, like, hey, hi,
hey ladies,
I'm still a woman, but yeah, like it is an interesting place because I always walk in there a little bit anxious, because I know the minute I step in I'm just gonna get eyes, and now it's like, oh, now like do I have to actually just lift up my t-shirt to show you that I'm one of you guys, when I step in here. But it's a fun place, it's a place to connect, and once they hear my voice and kind of understand that I am actually a girl in man's clothes. It is a man's world, so I'm just living the life. But it's quite interesting. It's quite judgmental. Like I said from the first aspect, if you don't have a thick skin and you're a young girl or a young woman that's what we'd call maybe like a stud, or like you're a tomboy and you like wearing masculine clothes, you have short hair, it can be a little bit of a downer when you go in there, because it's like, just leave me alone, man. I'm just using the bathroom. Like, why would I, walk in here if I wasn't a woman? And I've had some lovely aunties, from time to time actually follow me to the cubicle, and ask me, excuse me, you're in the wrong place. And I've even had to the point where one of them has actually gone outside and gotten a manager to come inside and be like, okay, you're in the wrong place. And it's but that's something that actually irritates me the most, because I am from the corporate world. I know how the laws work. And I know just by doing that, you're actually violating my rights to use the bathroom. You're misgendering me. So I don't want to go down that route, obviously, because you're just doing your eyes and like your job, and, you're just using your eyes, and it's very easy to just make the assumption. But if you don't take the time to just speak to the person or listen, it's kind of hard. So... But it's cool. I enjoy the bathroom. It breaks my night out. It gives me a little bit of a difference, and then I come back out with a smile. Yeah, it's calm.
Oh, damn. Yeah, but it's crazy to think, like, just like a simple thing that we do that we don't think much about, like, for example, going to the bathroom, how you experience that very differently. And
there is a little other aspect. It's like, you've got that. And then it's also the luckiest place a woman like myself can be.
Tell us more about how someone might get lucky there.
Lucky in the sense of, when you walk in, you're a little bit different, and there's a lot of ladies that are of my world, maybe. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, it's a place where they feel like they can, kind of have a conversation with you, ask for your number, ask for your socials. So, like, I could walk in... and walk out with like 5 numbers, do you know what I mean? Like it's a bit of both. Like, it's a place where you get hit on heavy and you're just there like, yo, I just want to pee. Like, I just want to wash my hands. Like, allow me. But yeah, I'll always say to the young women out there, studs, if you're not pulling, where at the dance floor, yo, just go to the bathroom.
Head to the bathroom.
Just head to the bathroom. You get that one-to-one with someone. Yeah. And, girls are always in there, doing up their hair, their makeup, adjusting their clothes and whatnot, walk in there with confidence. And I promise you walk out there with a bag of ladies. I'm not gonna lie.
Damn. Love that for you.
Yeah, like my male friends are always jealous. Like, I'm not gonna lie. When I go to the bathroom, it's like they watch me like a hawk. As soon as I come back out to the table or wherever they're at, they'll be like, yo, what did you get? What did you get? And I'm like, listen, I don't kiss and tell. Just allow me.
Yeah, you come back with a list.
Yeah, but I do kiss and tell.
Love that. Right, so Sim, you've got a podcast coming out soon. Yeah, tell us more about that. What should we expect from that?
A lot of good things. So it's a podcast. It's called Sim Space. Yeah. And the reason I called it Sim Space is because, again, it's me, my space, the space that I offer to my friends, the spaces that they also offer to me. For a long time now, obviously, when I'm speaking to my friends, we're always on FaceTime because obviously a lot of us are working different hours, different careers, different moves. So we talk a lot over FaceTime. Yeah. And I came up with this concept of like, when we're on FaceTime with someone, we can have like, one idea or one topic. And by the time the call has finished, we have covered 10 topics.
Yeah.
I don't know why my accent just changed there. But yeah, so I just thought, it would be nice to have like some form of a podcast where I get to speak to the people in my life, people that are specialists in their fields, in their careers, and even strangers about the day-to-day things that, that they go through. And that's kind of the conversations that I have with my friends. It could be from dating, or how's your mental health, or where's your career going, what's the next step for you, etc. So I thought, that concept was quite cool, because like I said, when I speak to my friends on FaceTime, we have like 10 different topics in half an hour or an hour, and we gain such a big insight into our lives, and a lot of the topics that we actually discuss are things that people go through in a day-to-day. And and I think I just got tired of a lot of podcasts as well, just offering nonsense, and I just thought we need something real, where we're actually talking about real situations in life, someone struggling with their career, someone struggling with their mental health, or even, teaching young people how to date properly, because you've got so many, like, these random podcasts, just giving out the wrong information on, the dating lifestyle. And, a lot of people want to settle down, or maybe go into even this polyamorous lifestyle, but they don't know where to start. And, even knowing that, it's a rich man's game. Like, you don't go there when you're broke. Like, there's nothing wrong with not having it. But, so I just thought, it'd be great to have that. And I already do that anyways. Every day I'm talking to my friends on FaceTime. It's where we catch up majority of the time. So that's what it is, actually.
Definitely. I think we can all agree that them FaceTime calls are so healing. Like
so healing. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'll be calling you, when we talk. I'm not gonna lie, like, we could start with one thing, and before I know it, you've healed the inner child in me.
I love that.
And I'm able to sleep soundly. So I just thought, just the way it affects me, and how it improves my day, for example.
Yeah.
That could be for someone else as well. Just to have someone that could be, having a conversation of the things that they're going through, and just maybe see another insight in someone else's life as well.
Yeah. And when you said, I think you mentioned, like when you're giving examples of topics that you'd be talking about, you said about dating the right way. Yeah. So what's your idea of that?
I think a lot of people, personally, when it comes to dating, I think people don't date based on the person's personality.
Yeah, right.
Right. Now, if the girl that you're getting to know, for example, and say girl, because you
don't be getting to know men.
No, thank you. I left that lifestyle. But yeah, so when it comes to dating a woman, for example, a guy would want a girl that's very expensive but doesn't know how to maintain that lifestyle that she's used to. She's already told you from the get-go what she is. How do you now expect her to change her standards and her expectations?
Yeah.
Or somebody would, go and date a really nice girl that's into the simpler life, maybe going for a nature walk, maybe just having a meal. Yeah. And now you want to be doing up vacations and these things that maybe she's not into, because for her, dating and being with someone, it's all about that little quality time indoors that they spend together, or that little walk that they have, etc. So I think the biggest aspect in it that's missing from the dating scene is that people don't date the person based on their actual personality and who they are. They try to create this facade of, I'm going to give you the expensive lifestyle, or I'm actually going to give you nothing. And it's like, it doesn't work. That's why we're all single.
Yeah.
So I think for me, when I watch, these podcasts, shout out to them, obviously, it comes from a one-sided view, and a lot of it is about, a man's point of view rather than a woman's point of view. And even women, some of them are like, oh, I want a baller. But it's like, even ballers, they have certain standards. Are you matching that? Can't be, expecting to be flown out and go to this and go to that, but wearing the right type of clothing that he likes. You're not stepping up the way that he wants you to step up. Especially a lot of boys, they like a woman that's like a honey on their arm. Do you match that aesthetic? You know what I mean? So I think you got to date within your bracket. I don't know how to explain it, but and date the person's personality. When you meet someone, you actually know a lot from that one time that you have a conversation with them, and I think that's what's missing.
I hear that. So are we saying some people are trying to date outside their dating tax bracket?
100%, yeah, because your type might be different to what you can afford.
Okay.
Or even how much of yourself you can give. Now, if you're a very career-minded person that's always going to work, that doesn't have time to be texting, calling and whatnot, and checking up on someone, then how can you date somebody that actually wants that? Yeah. Right? It's not going to work. So you have to date within that person's personality, and if you're able to match that and what they like and what they don't like. And I think a lot of the dating is, what do I like, rather than actually I'm dating someone, so what works for me and what works for her. You know, how can we meet in the middle?
Yeah.
And it's about compromise as well, you know, and I think that's the bit that's missing. Can I compromise for this person in terms of if they're a person that likes good morning text messages?
Yeah.
Can I send that every morning? You know what I mean? Or are they going to get annoyed if I leave it for a couple of hours? So I think it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a lot of like dating people for their potential rather than who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been guilty of that.
Yeah, guilty as charged. Yeah.
I think sometimes, you know, when we fall, we fall, obviously, when we fall for someone. But sometimes we forget that we've actually fallen in love with the person we've created in our head out of them and what we see in the future, you know, what they could be or what they could offer me and what I could offer them, etc., rather than actually wait. Do I love the person that's standing right in front of me? Do I like the way you communicate with me? Do I like the way, you know, you operate your emotional intelligence, for example, whether you have it or you don't have it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of people do fall in love with the potential, and it's so hard because once you fall in love with the potential, you might as well be on the floor crying.
You can't unsee
like, you
it.
can't unsee it, and you can't. You just, it's like you keep making excuses for them. Do you know what I mean? You're never gonna walk out.
Yeah.
Like, but at some point you just have to cut the cord. You know, cut that
Trust
umbilical
me.
cord and just walk out. But yeah.
Damn, that's hitting some corners.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so like one thing about you, Sim, you love cats. Yeah, you're a cat's mom.
Yes,
cats.
I am.
There's 4 of them, right?
There's 4 of them. Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful babies. Luca, Bella,
Yeah.
Link, aka Fluffy, your favorite.
Fluffy,
and
my
then Blue.
fave. Listen, guys, I'm scared of cats, but like Fluffy's my fave from a distance.
I don't think you're scared though. I just think you can be in the same room as them. You can be around them, you know.
Just not like right
you
next
just
to me.
you just can't touch them just yet. But we're working on it. It's been 2 years of working on it, and we could do with another 2 more years. But I think, you know, soon you'll be able to pet them. You need to pet my kids. They're my kids.
I don't know about that one, but yeah. Can I ask, how much do you spend on these cats? Like, are these cats eating better than me?
Yo, they eat better than me. What do you mean? And I'm the mom. They eat better than me. You know? To be fair, like with cats, it's not that expensive if you follow a specific diet. You know what I mean? So, at most they cost about like, I'd say about 200 to 250.
Yeah.
It's not a lot because, like I said, I try not to overfeed them and whatnot. And because my cats are indoors, I don't really have that extra vet bills,
right?
In the sense of like nothing's happening to them outside. It's normally like if they're indoors, if they've, I don't know, sometimes they can get an infection, they're not feeling well, or you know, an allergic reaction and stuff like that. But thankfully they've not had that. So at most within a year, I think it's just the annual checkups that I'll pay for, which is around like I think £500 in a year. But in a year it's not bad, like, you know. But other than that, it's no, they're quite cool. They live better than me, let me tell you that.
Yeah.
They live better than me. They're looked after better than me, you know. And I want someone like me. For me.
For you.
You know what I mean? They get everything, you know. I can't say no to them, you know. It's those big eyes. I don't know, babies,
Love that. So do you have a favorite cat? And I don't want a boring ass speech about how you love them equally, blah, blah, blah. Do you have a favorite cat?
You're evil, you know, because this is a question you've asked me before. If I'm being super honest, obviously I love all my kids equally. I do. But I would say Luca, the first one, just because I have he came in my life at a time where I feel like I needed him. Do you know what I mean? So, and when I got him, I was never a cat person. I would be that person that would cross the street if I saw a cat, honest to God. But a friend of mine had rescued a cat that was pregnant, gave birth, and then whenever I'd visit her house, this little tiny thing that was smaller than literally my feet, or like it was the size of my palm, would just follow me everywhere. And he hadn't been picked by any of her other friends here. And I just thought, you know what, I'm 28 at that time. I need to get over this fear. So I brought him home. It took us a month before I could even let him be in the same room as me. So I had to close my door and stuff. But like I said, you know, he got me over my fear of cats, for one. But also at that time I was going through some stuff, and he came at the perfect time. So he's my little saving grace, as I like to call it. So he is my favorite. But again, like I said, I'm a mom. I treat all my babies equally. Even in my own household, I am my mom's favorite. But she will still say she loves me. You know what I mean? So it's calm.
Fair enough. Okay. So before we wrap up, I just want to ask you a final question. If you could give a piece of advice that's gotten you through life, what would that be?
I would say acceptance is within you. You don't need acceptance from anybody, that be family, friends, colleagues, whatever, strangers. In life, I think you need one key thing, and that's a mirror. To look at yourself in that mirror. Are you happy with yourself? Are you where you are in life? Where do you want to go? And you've got to remember that, like I said, you will reach your utmost happiness when you realize that everything that you want to do in this life, or need from this life, is within you. And once you accept that, acceptance and being okay with who you are, regardless of your background, or, like I said, where you are in life, then you'll be able to achieve anything you want. So acceptance is within you, not outside of you.
Amazing. And with that, thank you so much for locking in on Native Radio with us. I've been your host, Wafa Arman, and we've been hanging out with Sim.
Thank you.